Hi, these are the Style Pile notes. These notes help writers add sentence variety and style to their writing. Go beyond "my dog ran" to "my dog, the beautiful, courageous pug, ran hideously slow." Okay, here's how it works. Open up the notes. If you are in my class, you should have a digital copy in Google Classroom. If not, go to the URL and make a copy for yourself. Watch the lesson while filling in your notes. Only copy the parts in red font. These are two really effective ways to add style to your writing when you're trying to be satirical, maybe a little bit sarcastic, or you're trying to persuade somebody in a little bit more lighthearted of a mood. These can be really effective to do. So first of all, what is it? That first box you're going to write using understatement or overstatement. We're going to talk about both of these things. They're opposites of each other, but it works well to learn about them together because they contradict one another. They're opposites. So first, let's talk about overstatement. So in that second box, I want you to write overstatement. You can take these notes down, but make sure you leave room because you're going to do understatement in just a moment. So I'm sure you've probably used overstatement in your own lives and not even realized it. But let me tell you a little bit about what overstatement is. Overstatement is when you take something small and you make it sound major to make a point. So for an example, let's just say Prop 1A was something on California's ballot measure coming up. We could have an overstatement like this. You mean if we don't pass Prop 1A, a whole 10 people might suffer? Oh no, how will the world go on? So if you see here, I'm taking something small, 10 people suffering. That's really not that many in all of California. 10 out of all of California is not that many. They're going to suffer if we pass Prop 1A, and then I kind of add this little satirical, sarcastic remark at the end. Oh no, how will the world go on? Another example could be, oh my God, you lost your pencil? How are you ever going to pass high school now? I'm taking something small, losing a pencil, and I'm making it seem major. And now to understatement. Understatement is when you take something major and you make it sound small to make a point. So it's the opposite of overstatement. Here's an example for you. Let's say Prop 1A is to lower the drinking age to 18 instead of 21. Here's an example of me using understatement to prove that that's not a good idea. If we pass Prop 1A and lower the drinking age to 18, we will only have a few thousand teenagers die in car crashes. No biggie. You can see here that a few thousand teenagers dying in car crashes, that's actually a pretty major thing, but I'm making it sound small when I go, no biggie. That's what understatement is. Okay, now we're going to apply some of that knowledge that we just took. So I'm going to ask you, is this here an example of understatement? Meaning, are we taking something that is big and making it seem small? Or is this an example of overstatement? So we're taking something that's small and we're making it sound big. So I want you to pause the video, read this example to yourself and decide, is this an example of understatement, something big making it sound small? Or is it an example of overstatement, something small making it sound big? Okay, let's look at this example together. It says, I have to have this operation. It isn't very serious. I have this tiny little tumor on the brain. This is from Catcher in the Rye. If you said understatement, you're correct. Now I know it says tiny little tumor on the brain, so yes, the tumor itself is literally small, but having a tumor on the brain is pretty big. It probably means you're either going to die, unfortunately, or at least get very close to death, right? And to make it sound like getting that tumor removed is not that big of a deal, yeah, you're taking something that's huge there, having a tumor of the brain, and making it seem like, no biggie. So that's an example of understatement. Okay, here's another example. You're going to tell me, is this an example of understatement, taking something big and making it sound small? Or is this an example of overstatement, taking something small, making it sound big? So, It says here, describing Moaning Myrtle. If you don't know Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter, she's like a character who's always whining, always crying, always upset, right? And if we describe that character as being a little sensitive, that's another example of an understatement. Moaning Myrtle is somebody who whines and cries a whole bunch, so that's big. And we're saying here, oh, she's just a little sensitive, making it sound small. Okay, I'm going to give you one last practice with this. Is it understatement or is it overstatement? Take a moment, read, and decide. Pause the video so that way you can think. Well, this time, if you said understatement, guess what? You're wrong, because it's not understatement this time. It is overstatement here. We're taking something that is small and we're making it seem really major, really big. We should ban swearing in public. Think about what chaos would ensue if a child heard an inappropriate word at a baseball game. The world would end. Come on, people, let's be reasonable. So we're taking something small, swearing in public, which I guess isn't good, but it's definitely not going to be the end of the world, right? And we're making it seem big, like the whole world's going to end if one kid hears one curse word at a baseball game. Obviously, we're overstating that. We're making something small into something big. Making mountains out of molehills, if you're familiar with that expression. All right, now that we've practiced it, I'm going to have you go down to that third box, the use it box, and I want you to use it. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to use understatement or overstatement. It doesn't matter to me which one. You choose whatever one you want to describe an injury. So you can make a big injury seem small, or you can make a small injury sound big. I want you to pause the video for a moment and come up with something for that use it box. So here's an example I was able to come up with. It says here, I stubbed my toe and now I fear I must amputate my foot. Well, I'm taking something small here, stubbing my toe, and I'm making it sound like I'm going to have to now cut off my own foot, turning it into something major. So there I'm overstating stubbing my toe, right? I used overstatement here. If you want a few more examples, I've got 2 more examples right here. If you need to, you can pause and look at them. They're pretty good examples of understatement and overstatement. Okay, your job now, add overstatement and understatement to your writing to add style and flair to your writing, but a word of caution. Make sure that when you use these rhetorical devices, you're trying to make a point using sarcasm. You have to determine if it's an appropriate place for sarcasm to be before you ever use understatement or overstatement. Second piece of advice I'm going to give you, make it really, really painfully clear to your audience that you are being sarcastic. Otherwise, if they don't get that you're being sarcastic, you might actually weaken your argument rather than strengthening it.